Hey everybody, my name's Colin. This is the Untypical Heroes! I'm excited! Last time Andi befriended Zerand, the elf mage, who's being held captive to assist the exploitative and corrupt troll merchant Redbeck. Redbeck was trying to set up an ambush. Andi befriended Zerand. Zerand helped them avoid the ambush and abscond with 2 new prime rods. Redbeck, needless to say, was furious about this. He does not like being cheated, and that is exactly what happened to him. So he gave chase. They ran down this hallway. They found Mibs, who's alive, which is crazy, and made their way through a series of storage rooms. Superdu was able to block up a bunch of those rooms and hold off Redbeck long enough for them to explore briefly Area 27, where Andi found out that Toons are being held and having the Loonium, the life force of them, sapped out of their body. Old Man Kylan's was the victim that was currently on the operating table, I guess, the mechanism that was being used to do this. And for the second time, Andi had to look him in the eyes and leave him behind. She is distraught about this in a big way, and she is filled with rage. She is furious at the Toon Squad and the governor for doing this. She also found her file and files of other Toons that kind of showed their whereabouts. So they were tracking these Toons. They find out the Toons who have the largest amounts of Loonium, and they're coming after them. Sir Camisiparus Lasoniana saw that there was a pipe from the room that was heading through the walls in the ceiling. And he said, if we follow that pipe, it's probably going to lead to where they're taking all of this Loonium. So that's kind of their big clue at this point. And that is actually a good progress mark for finding the rift. They also had 2 prime rods, so I'm going to put 2 more progress for finding the rift and healing it, because Sir Camisiparus Lasoniana concluded that these prime rods are definitely going to be what we're looking for. There's potentially 5 of them. There's 5 of us. It almost seems fated for them to be here at this moment. Zerand, the elf, leads them to Area 28, where Sir Camisiparus Lasoniana found a key, an iron key, earlier in this adventure, if we remember back at the beginning. A couple of Toon Squad members dropped the key. He picked it up, and he used it in Area 28 to unlock this large, thick iron door. The party got inside and just barely managed to shut it, spin a wheel, and lock it before Redbeck started banging on the outside of it. And they are safe for now from him. Okay? Might not be the last that they see of him, though. Inside, they heard moaning and groaning noises, and Sir Camisiparus Lasoniana used his glow frog lantern to illuminate the room. As they walk about, they see 2 things. One, there are 8 doors, 8 cages, these iron cages that have a number of, similar to Old Man Kylan's, Loonium drained individuals. These Toons seem to no longer have their minds and their wits about them. They're just kind of groaning. They're just making nonsensical noises. They're banging their heads against the cages. They're reaching out. And Andi concludes that this is what becomes of the Toons after the Loonium is sucked from them. They become almost these zombified Toons. She's disgusted by this. The whole party is enraged that this is happening to these Toons, and there are, handfuls of them in either of these cages. Now, it's been a couple of turns, so let's go ahead and let's roll for a random encounter at this point. So we're going to roll a d6. On a 1, we're going to have a wandering monster encounter, and any other number, we're going to have something else occur. In this case, we got a 5. So we like random tables because they help us in solo games. They help us in any kind of tabletop game, but they help us to just get some new ideas and keep things fresh. And even though I know everything that's in this module, right, I read through the whole module before I play it so that I can run it, random tables give us that kind of curveball that can make things fun and interesting. So we have a random event table right here, and we said on a roll of a 1, we were going to have our random encounter. Since we didn't have a 1, we're going to go ahead and we're going to roll on this random event, and we're going to see what we do have. Okay? In this case, it's going to be a 6. We see a sign. So what is the sign that they see? I think the sign is going to be a clue of what happened in this room or what's going to be happening in this room. They see that this H door right here in the northwest corner is open slightly ajar. It's about 10 feet tall to the top of these iron cage doors, and this one is opened about 5 feet. They notice that one of the handles is pulled, and it's the only handle that's not vertical. It's pulled about 20 degrees to the north of the room, and Sir Camisiprus Lawsoniana concludes that, hey, if we pull these handles, it must open these doors. Now, that's not the clue that they find. That's pretty, obvious. They can see that right away. But the clue that they find is one of the doors. We'll say door. Which door is it? Because there is a door that is specifically door C. Door C is the door that we are looking for here. Door C in the southeast corner of the room has a sign above it, right? It says, do not open. It says blasting ring, okay? Sir Camisiprus Lawsoniana is thinking about that sign, that clue for a second, and he pulls out his other pocket where he found the iron key, and he opens it up. And remember, it says ring of fireballs. Now, none of these other doors say do not open. There's a sign above C that says do not open. Immediately, if anyone is going to open this door, it's going to be Andi. Immediately, they're thinking, we want to open this door, right? It says blasting ring on it. So Camisiprus Lawsoniana shares this with the party. He shares it with Zirin. Zirin, what do you think this means? And he says, I'm not sure. Gary is going to press forward. He's going to take out his rapier every chance he gets to swing this thing around. He can. He just kind of clangs it against the grates, and one of the zombie Toons darts forward. It sticks its arms through the cage, and they immediately see a large ring with some rubies on it on his finger. So Camisiprus Lawsoniana says, do you think that's what this is talking about? Ring of fireballs, blasting ring. Maybe there's a ring on this Toon's finger. Maybe it was a mage like you, Zirin. Zirin says it's possible, right? There are magic items. He's like, I've got a ton of magic items. He's like, see if you guys can get it. So Superdu is going to see if we can get this. I'm going to say that this is definitely a dangerous task, because if this is a ring that can shoot fire out of it, which is what it's sounding like it is, we're definitely going to need to face adversity to get it off, okay? So Superdu goes over, he grabs onto this zombie Toon's arm, and he's going to try and remove the ring carefully, okay? The rest of the party just kind of cowers back just in case Superdu can take it. He's a superhero. So what are we going to do? Let's roll. I don't know. Would Superdu just go in and just grab it and try and yank it off and use his power, or would he try and be gentle? I think he would try and be gentle in this case. Let's use presence. I think Superdu is going to, knowing that this thing could be potentially a dangerous magic item, I think he's going to grab the arm kind of like aggressively, and when he feels the tug back from this Toon zombie, and it's grunting and everything, he just kind of like changes his approach to him. He says, hey, it's okay. He kind of pets it on the hand a little bit, and he's going to slowly try and slide this ring off. Let's see if he can do that. Rolling presence. His presence is going to be a D8. He's going to roll 4! D8. A 4 is going to be a strong hit. So he's going to grab the, you know what he does, actually? He uses his hair gel, right? He's got some hair gel. He gets some hair gel, too. As he's petting the hand, he gets his hair gel. He slathers it up. He lathers it. Slather. I don't know if slather's a word, but I'm going to say it anyway. He slathers it up in his hands, and he rubs it on the finger, and he slides like butter. He slides this ring right off, right? When he slides the ring off, he notices that there is an inscription in it, and he tosses it over to Sir Camisiprus Lawsoniana. We got exactly what we were looking for there. And +1 stamina to boot. Now, I think Superdu is maxed out on his stamina. Let me see. Superdu. He is maxed out on his stamina, so we can't get an additional one, so that kind of stinks. But either way, we got the blasting ring. So Camisiprus Lawsoniana grabs it. He looks at it, and there's some stuff inscribed in it that he can't make out, so he asks Zirin. Zirin is winding up being pretty helpful to this party right now. All thanks to Andi for befriending him, using her charm. He looks at it and he says, it is a blasting ring. He said, it looks like there's a set number of charges in it. How many charges are in this ring? Let's say that there's 6 of them. Where is Sir Camisiprus Lasoniana? He's got the Ring of Fireballs, the blasting ring. He's got a blasting ring now. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 charges. We're going to say one of them is spent already. And Zirin says this thing is pretty easy to use. He's like, you wear it and you say the command term, which is Ignus. There you go. And then it's going to set off a series of fireballs. He said these things are pretty potent. He said you definitely don't want to be hanging around when they're going off. Camisiprus Lasoniana says, oh, that's pretty cool. So he puts the ring on. Gary argues with him a little bit about the ring because he wants it. But Sir Camisiprus Lasoniana knows he's the more level-headed of the two, and he should definitely have the ring, right? So they look through the rest of these cages, these holding areas for these Toons. They don't see anything else that looks more out of the ordinary than this already is. So the party makes their way to where they were hearing noises, okay? Not grunting noises, but they heard like clattering noises coming from area H. So they kind of crawl under, excuse me, that 5-foot opening. They duck, they dive through it. And they come across a small hallway that opens into area 30. Now, area 30, we rethemed right here. Because in the actual Hyqueous Vaults, this is a Sphinx lair, and 32 has to do with the Sphinx lair, which is super cool. But we don't need Sphinxes in these already weird and mysterious Hyqueous Vaults. What we do need, though, is a holding area for all the Toons. And that's what they find. So finding Kylo is going to get some progress right now. We're going to mark off another box because Andi notices that they don't need the glow lantern anymore, the glow frog lantern, because this area is already illuminated by tons of other lanterns hanging about. As they get through the hall, they look in. It opens to... How tall does it open to? Does it say? It does not. And I thought it did, and that is so silly. It opens to 40 feet, okay? It's a large chamber. It's a cylindrical chamber, and they notice that there are stairs that wrap around and around and around and go up, and they see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of makeshift cages. These aren't the big iron bars that Area 29 had. These look like, chain link fence type cages. And they can hear clattering. They can hear Toons grabbing the sides of them, yelling, shouting. And these are not zombified Toons. These look like Toons that are just held in cages. And they see a central area where it looks like there's a guard post. At the same time, a truck pulls in, and they can see it pulling into the entrance right here. A couple of Toon Squad members come out of that guard post, come out to meet the truck, and they see dozens of Toons filing out in shackles and chains, and they start leading them up the stairs. Andi says, we need to act right now. So Camisiprus Lasoniana, where is he? He's right there. Oops. So Camisiprus Lasoniana says, we need a plan. And he turns to the other party members and he says, Gary, I need you to make a distraction. And at the time he's saying this, Andi just bolts. She takes off. Now, she does not have a weapon, but she does have a piccolo. And she pulls out her piccolo and she just starts blaring on this thing. Immediately, the Toon Squad members turn and she yells behind her over her shoulder. She says, there's your distraction. And she just starts taking off. So Camisiprus Lasoniana is just taken aback by this like you wouldn't believe. He's like, oh my gosh. He's like, we don't even have a plan. Gary says, I've got your plan right here. He pulls out his rapier and he starts running. Super Dude takes off. Mibs, already having died once, says, what do I got to lose? And he runs out there, pulls out his crowbar, charge! Right, and they start charging the Toon Squad members. Now, normally in a situation like this, the first thing that we would do, because we've run combat a couple of times, we would determine the strength of the foes, we would get the initiative order, we would go through the whole kit and caboodle. But, in For Shenanigans, one of the cool things that I like about this game is they've got like a fast track through combat. If we can find it right here, that escalated quickly. It says when combat happens in a blur, envision your objective and roll. And we can do this entire combat encounter in a single roll, mass combat in a single roll. And that's what I like with something like this. So there's tons of Toon Squad members running around. Our party's running. Zirin pulls out a couple of his spell scrolls and starts slinging them. Let's see what happens. Okay, so Sir Camisiprus Lasoniana is going to be attempting to take charge here. And we're going to roll his presence as we've been doing and see, can he lead this ragtag group to victory? So we're going to roll a d12. Whoops, and we overshot it. We're going to roll our d12, and we get an 8 on a d12. We just missed our strong hit. We've got a weak hit. It says on a weak hit, you achieved it, but not without a cost. That sucks. And I think that sounds about right. We're probably going to have a cost. There's a bunch of Toon Squad members. They've got their guard post. How are we approaching this? What are we doing? I'm going to say, Super Dude just starts using his fist. He's just starting to pummel some of these guards into dust. Mibs is swinging his crowbar around. He pulls out a couple of his marbles and just starts flinging them, shooting them, smacking guards in the head. He pours a bunch of them on the ground so that the guards are slipping and falling all over the place. Gary is going to town with his rapier. We're slinging spells. Andi is screeching her piccolo right in their ears. She runs between their legs and is just confusing them and driving them absolutely bonkers. They're like, what is that noise? Where is it coming from? And every time they turn around, there's one of the other party members. Super Dude comes in with a punch. Boom, right to the nose. So Camisiprus Lasoniana sees that they're outnumbered. He sees that more and more of these Toon Squad members are coming out of the guard post, so he holds his blasting ring out and he says, everybody duck! Ignus! Boom! And a handful of fireballs come shooting out. The guard post is obliterated, but not without a cost. So what is the cost? Let's roll on our That Sucks table. We're going to get our D100, our percentile die roll. Okay? And let's find out what is the cost. We've got a 37 here. So 37 is going to be the current situation worsens. The first time Sir Camisiprus Lasoniana has ever used magic, right? He doesn't understand it. He doesn't understand the power that it has. So that blasting ring goes off and he goes, whoa. He's like, all I had to do is say Ignus, right? And he wasn't ready for it the second time. And he's holding it up and it blasts up. A couple of those fireballs hit some of the cages. When they hit the cages, they're screaming and yelling from inside them, and then the Toons come barreling out in a puff of smoke. So now there's dozens and dozens of Toons coming out. They're grabbing some of the Toon Squad members that were showing the new prisoners up the stairs. They're throwing Toon Squad members off the side, and they're splatting down at the bottom. So Camisiprus Lasoniana goes, oh my goodness, right? The situation is getting pretty hectic right now. And he also hit the ceiling, and some rocks and some stalactites are falling off now, and the party has to face adversity in order to dodge the falling rocks. So I'm going to say Andi is going to have to lead them in facing adversity. The rest of the party is more kind of held up with fighting the Toon Squad members. Andi's the one who looks up and she sees these rocks falling down, and she says, "Everybody, get out of the way!" So that is going to be, I'm going to say she's going to lead the party in an agility check, right? Everyone is using their agility to get out of the way. And that's going to be a D8 for her. So here's her D8 for her agility roll. And she's going to get a 6 on it. D8 is a 6. That's a weak hit. She only has 2 stamina left. But she does have 6 Loonium. Let's just spend one of our Loonium here, because I feel like falling rocks are definitely not going to be good for us. We're going to spend one of our Loonium. We're going to go down to 5. And that's going to give us an automatic strong hit. So she gets +1 stamina. Her max is 2, so she's already maxed out. She dives, right? She sees Gary standing right there. He's swatting a couple of these Toon Squad members down like flies. They're not really well trained. I don't think they're trained at all. I don't even think they have background checks. They just give them a mask to cover up their face, and then some mismatching uniforms, right? They don't actually give them uniforms. They bring their own uniforms, okay? The Toon Squad members are quite a silly bunch, actually, when you think about it. It's almost as if there's no oversight whatsoever from the governor. Anyway, Gary's swatting these dudes down, these clowns, which is exactly what they are. You can tell by the bunny shoes that this one's wearing. He's swatting them down like they're nothing, and Andi jumps and pushes him out of the way, and then a big boulder comes down and squishes a couple of the Toon Squad members who he's fighting. Boom! And in a cloud of dust, Gary looks up and he says, "Thank you." And it's the first time he's probably ever said thank you in his entire life. Andi goes right back to blowing on the piccolo and running around. So, the party, as the dust settles and clears, recognizes that they've defeated the bulk of the Toon Squad members. They take a couple of them prisoner, they shackle them up, and Sir Camusiporus Lasoniana grabs their keys and tosses them to a couple of the newly freed Toons. He says, "Can you guys unlock the rest of the people in here?" And they say, "Absolutely." Zirand says, "I didn't know that the situation was that bad." When the Toon Squad members were coming in with individuals through the front entrance, they said it was just the criminals. It was just the bad Toons that were stealing Loonium from everybody. And Andi said, "No, they actually even tried to take me, and I barely managed to escape." Zirand says, "We've got to do something about this." And Sir Camusiporus Lasoniana tells him, "Take these Toons to Toon Square, the freed Toons that they get. Take a couple of the Toon Squad prisoners and tell everybody what's been happening." Zirand gets a couple of his spell scrolls out and some of his potions. He says, "I'm going to equip our new members, the Toon Squad, or the Toons that they let out." He said, "I'm going to equip some of them with some magic too. We're going to go in there. We're going to make sure that this ends now." I'm going to mark off 2 more progress or find Kylo, right? Because we defeated the Toon Squad members and we opened the cells. And in one of those cells, Andi looks out above the crowd. She stands up on top of the van that they were transporting individuals in with. And she looks out into the crowd and she sees a couple of Toons struggling to carry/drag Kylo. She goes, "Kylo!" And she jumps down and she darts through the wreckage and she's jumping over some of the boulders and some of the dead Toon Squad members. And when she gets to Kylo, she sees that he's barely conscious. He's hanging on there. He's drooling at the mouth. And she's like, his extractor, his condenser extractor, she needs to charge it, right? She needs some battery. And so she pulls out her shake flashlight and gives it a couple of shakes. She twists off the bottom of it and she takes it and she connects his Loonium condenser extractor to the shake flashlight. And she continues shaking it and she can see that the charge starts building up. She hears the whirring of the motor starting to spin. And Kylo comes back to consciousness. And she says, "Oh my goodness." She's like, "It worked." And she kind of shakes her head. She's like, "Old man Kylans with your physics lesson." She knows that as she shakes the flashlight, it's going to continue building up that electric charge. So Kylo's saved! We did it. That is plus 15 Zany Gems, and that is going to cause Andi to level up. Now, when we level up, when we get 10 Zany Gems, we're able to increase one of our stats by 1. Her stamina is pretty low. She's only got 2, so let's increase it by 1. Her maximum stamina now is going to be 3, and she goes up to 3. And at that, Zirand is going to take these freed individuals as they continue unlocking cells and getting them out. And Andi is going to get some information from Kylo. Let's roll on our rumor table. I think we're up to a D8 now, unless I'm mistaken. Let's roll on our rumor table and see what Kylo can tell her. And he rolls an 8. We maxed it out. So an 8. He said that there's a prismatic water that started flowing through the pipes after these Toons started showing up in the cave, right? There's pipes, they're leaking, there's this vicious kind of fluid that comes out of it. And he said it started flowing soon after they brought us to the caves. Now, Andi knows that there were pipes in Area 27 where Old Man Kylans was being drained of Loonium. So this definitely confirms, we're going to mark another progress off, that if they follow those pipes are going to go that prismatic kind of color is probably the Loonium condensed into a tangible form. It's probably going to lead to where the rift is. And at that, Sir Camusiporus Lasoniana knows what they need to do. We've got to follow those pipes, and we've got to find that source. But Mibs jumps in and he says, first, I'm going to need my prime rod. That is going to bring it to a conclusion for this episode. And it looks like we might be getting pretty close to that rift and figuring out what is going on and healing it once and for all. If you like what you saw, leave a comment or don't. That's okay too. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. And we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.